Thanks for listening to Bigfoot Society. I'm Jeremiah Byron. Today, you're going to hear a lot of accounts from all over the U.S., from people from really one side to the other. This is a collection of impromptu call-in encounters from the TikTok live platform. If you've never heard a collection like this, you're in for a treat. Now, these are raw encounters you won't want to miss, so stay with us. Hey, Pookster, how are you?
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, I
Doing
sent you a request to see if you would be willing to come up and chat about what you experienced.
mind sharing it. I mean, it was 95, late 95, probably October and November because I had just had my birthday. Um, my unit was sent to Bridgeport, California, which is in Northern California, up in the Rockies. It's their cold weather mountainous training area. It's called the Mountain Training Warfare Center in Bridgeport. Um, Everything started out just, we were on a normal routine, you know, practice patrol. Uh, we stopped for the evening. Um, there was supposed to have been some cadre or instructors that were following us to see how we were handling ourselves, see if we were, following proper procedures, cold weather training. Uh, big, big up there. The cadre is really strict, so they teach you classes and they send you out. So we bivouacked. Um, Maybe we were probably 50 yards from a tree line. Sorry, excuse me. And I was a young team leader. Three other guys under my control, and I decided I was going to pull guard duty so my guys could get some rest. And one of the other guys that I was friends with, he had decided to get up. I don't know why, but he went up by the tree line to take a leak, and I'm waiting and I'm walking the perimeter of the little circle that we got in our huts, the little hooches, two-man shelter half tents, and I see him come running back, and he wouldn't look at me, he wouldn't talk to me. He walked straight past me. He says, I got to get out of here. Let's get out of here. He was just mumbling and walked past me. He wouldn't respond. I asked him what was wrong. He wouldn't respond. So I decided I had to relieve myself. So I decided I'd go over there where he was at. And I had just gotten divorced, so being out there in the woods and being out there at night, it was so peaceful. I was just enjoying it because there had been, back home and back on base, it's just a lot of chaos and lawyers and the divorce and the kids and everything. So I'm standing there and I'm looking, and I mean, there's no wind. It's a real calm night. Very gentle breeze. Uh, and I was looking and I noticed it looked like somebody was standing just inside the tree line. You could see their breath, and it was floating up through the edges of the trees. So I'm looking and I just, no, I mean, we're, like I said, this is a training center. All we have are simunition. It's blank rounds. But, I'm carrying my rifle, and I just, I'm trying to look through the sight, the scope, to see if I can see what's in the tree line. And I don't see anything right away, but for some reason, my buddy Jeff, what he was saying and the way he was acting when he came barreling past me just kind of stuck in my head. So I'm checking it out, and I'm thinking, okay, one of the instructors, or maybe my platoon sergeant or something, is standing there watching us, with us. And I approached the tree line. Now I'm probably at this point, maybe 20 yards maybe a little bit less than 20 yards away from the tree line. And the branches in this one tree, in this one spot, it was pitch black in this spot, and the branches started just gently swaying back and forth, but nothing down the tree line did. You look down the line towards the look downhill, and you follow the tree line. Nothing else is really swaying. This one tree is kind of just erratically kind of moving back and forth, and then it'll stop, slow down, and then it's moving back and forth. I got to about 10 yards, and I heard I heard it. I heard it vocalize. I really can't. The closest I can describe it is if anybody has ever heard, uh, uh, not a threatening roar, but it's the weirdest sound. But lions tend to make it sometimes before they roll. It's not a growl. It's not a roar. It's something in between. And I froze. I am not afraid of any man on the face of the earth. And this scared me. I literally defecated in my pants. But I stood there, I was frozen. And when I could move, I don't know, look, I don't know what possessed me, but I kept looking to, I have to find out what this is. I gotta find out. This is, this is my staff sergeant. This is one of the instructors. It's somebody messing with me. And I didn't, at the time I was young. I was 23, 24. I just turned 24 years old. And I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. Every young Marine thinks he is. And when I moved, it stepped out or stepped to the side, but the moonlight caught it. Now this thing, I had to, at 10 yards away from it, I still had to lift my head up. The shoulders and the head area of this thing. So my best estimate is 9.5 to 10 foot. And it huffed. And I snapped out of it. And I couldn't turn my excuse me. I couldn't turn my back towards it. I did not feel comfortable, but I knew I had to. I knew I had to leave. I knew I had to get out of there. So I quartered off and kind of half sideways walked, like a crab walk, looking at it, looking at the bivouac area, looking at it, looking back towards where everybody was. It seemed like forever, but it probably only took me maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes to get back to the area. I found Jeff, and I'm like, tell me what happened. He's like, nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. Nothing happened. Not a clue. Now I can tell he was lying to me because he's smoking a cigarette, and his hand, as you can see the cherry of the cigarette, his hand is just all over the place. The cherry's bouncing around. And I just looked at him and I said, "You saw that?" And he looked me dead in the eyes and he said, "Dave, I didn't see anything." And that's what I'm going to tell everybody. I said, "Well, if you didn't see anything, why would you tell anybody?" And from then on, he wouldn't even say anything. He shut down completely. We finished out our watch, and I stayed up the rest of the night. There was no way I was going back to sleep. But I finished my watch, woke up my relief, and I couldn't take my eyes off of that spot. I just couldn't. I didn't notice. I didn't hear anything after that. 25, 30 yards away, I thought I still saw the trees and the limbs shaking and swaying, but I couldn't be sure. All I know is that for the rest of that patrol, it felt like you get that feeling that you're being watched, somebody staring at you. Anybody with kids knows, kid wakes up early in the morning, they're standing at the end of the bed. You could be in a deep sleep and they're just standing there staring at you, not saying a word. And you're gonna wake up and look at it, because I mean, you can feel it. But yeah, that was like I said, that was early to mid-November of '95. As like I said, I had just turned 23 in October, and it was crazy. I won't say it changed me. I'm not obsessed with it, but I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was a terrifying experience. I can't quantify to explain to somebody. Terrifying doesn't meet the level of, or the threshold of giving somebody an idea of what that was like. But I mean, I'm 6'1", and I know it, even at 10, 10 or so yards, give or take a yard or two. Like I said, it was dark out. It was full moonlight, but I mean, I had to raise my head to look up to see this thing's head and shoulder area, and it was just massive. I mean, there's no way it was human. I mean, unless it was some idiot, unless it was some idiot on a military base and on stilts trying to mess with people. It wasn't human. There's no way it could have been. It was too broad. A lot of it was shadow, so I can't say exactly, but I mean, judging from the size of the shadow that I did see, it was roughly a good 4.5 foot wide, at least. And it just looked like a half circle on top of a just massive shadow. I didn't get to see really any details, nose, lip structure, cheekbone structure, none of that. But I didn't see, like a lot of people ask, did you see eye shine? Did their eyes glow? I didn't see any of that. It was just, you can tell it was hairy. Not furry, but hairy. Shaggy, unkempt. If I'd hazard a guess to say how long it was probably in the 6 to 8 inch range, long hair hanging off of it. But it's impossible to really be definitive about that because of the shadow. The pure fact that it was just, the middle of the night in a full moon. Be definitive about that because of the shadow. The pure fact that it was just, the middle of the night in a full moon. It's, your eyes can play tricks on you. So, but I mean, I probably wouldn't have thought anything of it at all if Jeff hadn't, come back into the Bibby site and scared and shaken like he was. I probably wouldn't have done anything at all. And at first I didn't, because I went back up there to the same spot. That was our spot to relieve ourselves. So, if I thought there was something up there, I'm not, gonna unalive myself or take a chance on something unaliving I'm curious, but not that curious.
Wow. That is simply, I mean, that's just extremely wild. Thank you for sharing that account of what happened to you when you were in the service. And thank you for your service as well. But I just want to say thank you for coming up and for sharing what you experienced that night.
Yeah, for sure. No problem, man.
Richie, how are you?
Hey, good. How are you?
Good. It's been a while, man. It's good to hear from you.
I don't know if a lot of people have heard my story before, so I wanted to give it. I shared it with you before. First of all, originally from Butler County, Pennsylvania, a small town called Shakora. Now I reside in Las Vegas. Been a nurse for almost 40 years. My experience happened in, I want to say, fall of 91. A buddy and I, Ron, we would do kiting. And when I say that, I don't mean your Walmart kite. I'm talking, we build them out of balsa wood, the Chinese kind. Really take our time with them. So we went out to the fields, lived on a farm, went out to the fields, middle of the fields. And the fields in Pennsylvania and New York are so much different than the fields in like Nebraska, Iowa, where everything is totally flat. We have those rolling fields with hills, valleys, streams, everything like that. Been out there right before twilight, and right in the middle, we got our kites up. He's probably a good football field away from me. We heard this noise, and I call it a noise because to try to describe it as a scream, as a yell, like the gentleman just said, as a roar. But the noise was so abdominal thrusted. It was that you could feel it in your chest. And mind you, when we're in the middle of the field, we're about a good, I want to say at least 3 football fields in either direction of the wood line. So it really had to come traveling and hit us like that. And it was so loud. He started reeling in his kite. I tried to reel mine in, but I was just too erratic that I just cut my line. And I got the heck out of there, waited for him to roll down, and then he was coming on to meet me in the field. And he was like, "Rich, what is that?" And I'm like, "It's not a bear. That's for certain." And mind you, prior to nursing school, we had to take all these electives, and I took college prep English. And in literature, we had to do a piece on American folklore. And I fell in love with Bigfoot at that time, right out like my senior year in high school, starting into college, and really researched it, but then started to watch it. And I remember watching that old movie, the Boggy Creek one with Dad. But then my sister and I were just giggling because we remember that my Uncle Jim came over, and this was about a month ago, we talked about this. We remember this movie, and it was an early Bigfoot movies from the 70s. And we're thinking it had 2 guys from a university. And at the end of it, the one had lied to the other and said that the creature has been circling the camp. And mind you, I think the one guy's name was Paco, but I can't remember the name of this movie. And we tried to find it on Netflix, and it's hard to do that when you don't know the name of the movie. But so if anybody knows that, please shoot me a message. But it was like an early 70s, late 70s Bigfoot movie that my dad and Uncle Jim had got for the whole family to watch. But it was really good. But that was my experience, and just something I'll never forget. And even to this day, before I moved to Nevada, the people in Butler County that hunt for Bigfoot in Pennsylvania, they'd be like, "Rich, come on aboard and you can be our nurse." And I'm like, "Okay, but one thing, I'm not going into the woods. I'll stay at the camp. And if you fall and get hurt, you carry your butt to me, or you get the guys to carry your butt, because after that roar, after that noise, after that sound, I will never go in the woods again. Never." Because, like I said, the decimal, the loudness that it had to come from something so massive. And I just don't want to see it. Do I want to see it? Absolutely. Sort of like that Santa Claus M&M thing. Oh, he does exist. Oh, yes, he does exist. And then everybody passes out. But
right.
Yeah, my luck, I would be the one passing out, and he would carry me away in a sleeping bag or by my foot or something. But no.
There you go.
Do you remember the movie in the 70s that had those two guys?
It wasn't Boggy Creek, right?
Do you recall a movie like that in the late 70s, mid 70s, something like that, with the two guys from the university?
I personally
and it was in
don't.
And about
I personally
time that,
don't.
Boggy Creek came out, and I'm thinking it was after it.
Okay.
But it was
I don't know, but
movie.
I kind of want to know too. Yeah, I kind of want to know too. But man, Richie, thanks for coming up, and thank you for sharing your account again. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
All right, there was an individual I'm going to try to reach out to because he probably has an amazing story. So let's see if this individual can come up in chat. Hey, Bob, this is Jeremiah. How are you?
Hi, Jeremiah.
Hey, I was seeing your comments, and it sounds like you have a very cool story because I'm aware of the big muddy monster of Murfreesboro. Is it okay if I use the audio from this conversation for my podcast?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. Fantastic. Yeah, feel free to share what you remember of being involved with that situation.
Well, there's a lot of documentaries out on that incident. Actually, my dad last year just had somebody track him down and did a documentary and put it up on. I don't remember if it was the History Channel or whatever. My dad has the video footage of several documentaries of it, but my dad was the owner of the salvage yard in Murphy, mid to late 80s when the incident happened. And I don't know if you're familiar with Illinois or not, but Murfreesboro's a little bit south of Carbondale. A lot of people know where Carbondale is. It's a college town. But yeah, it happened in the nights. My dad had some security guards out there at the salvage yard. He was having theft issues, so they were doing shifts driving around. My dad was there that evening, and they noticed typical, the foul odor, something. They noticed a figure, kind of a silhouette of a figure, and my dad. They were walking through the salvage yard, and he shined his flashlight on it, and had red eyes, screamed at him, and his deputy had a 38 or 357. He was fixing to pull it out. My dad's like, no, don't do that. You'll just upset it. I have a feeling I know what this is. And they got back in their little patrol vehicle and got out of the salvage yard. And a couple of footprints and some hair fibers was found the next morning. And next thing you know, the news media and the troops came all in, and they had trackers come in and look into it, and found some bedding and found a trail. And but it was there for about a couple weeks, about a month or so. It was all over town. They even had somebody dress up as one of them in the Apple Festival parade, because it was, and it wasn't the first. It wasn't the first scene there. We have the Little Muddy River and the Big Muddy River. in that area, and we also have Shawnee National Forest in the area. So, but they call it the Big Muddy Monster where I'm from.
It's a fascinating story. I actually have the book right here,
Yeah,
and I was actually looking at the chapter about the it's called Terror in the Salvage Yard, which you were talking about because you lived it. Um, and oh, there you were. So you were 15 years old at that time, right?
yeah.
Yep, there you're referenced in this chapter. I'm reading it right here. That's incredible to talk to you. Um, wow, wow. Do you remember other things that were happening around the area at the same time regarding these sightings?
Not so much as a 15-year-old. I mean, my attention level was probably not as direct. My dad would be the one to talk to because he really lived it, and he he you know, he's had several people track him down and talk to him about it.
I'm sure, yeah.
Uh, yeah, I got there's some pictures of me in the news footage, and of course, I got my Bermuda shorts and my tank top, and I'm running around with my friends on my bike. So, but I was there that night when it happened, and I just kind of played it off until the evidence started surfacing the next morning, and I was like, wow.
Absolutely. At that time in your life, were you like, yeah, this is a real thing, or were you thinking, man, everyone's crazy here, or
Um, to be honest with you, I have I've been kind of back and forth on my belief level on it, But as I've grown up and really researched it, as thoroughly with an adult mind, I can honestly say, yeah, they do exist. And with a Christian heart, I've actually done a lot in-depth research and found them in biblical terms in scriptures, as to what they are. They're passive creatures. They're gentle creatures. I don't know all the stories, but as far as I can tell, they don't harm. They don't harm people. They don't.
Mm,
They don't. They don't go around terrorizing. And to me, and this is my theory, is they are. I don't know if you're a scriptural person or a Christian or whatever, but to me, I can see the difference between the Genesis 2 and the Genesis 1 man. Genesis 1 man would be who I see as what we call the Bigfoot or the Sasquatch. They are the ones that were blessed with having dominion on the earth and to subdue it. And the Genesis 2 man would be the Adam, who we are from, Adam and Eve. And I see the difference. I've been reading the Bible for years, and I can see the difference in Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. But that's who I see who Sasquatch is they were blessed. That's why they are able to be with nature and in harmony in the earth. Everybody's always saying, well, why isn't there a body? How come we don't see them all around? Because they are blessed with certain gifts as far as being a natural beast man. And
mm.
they were and I could get more in depth with it, but I'm not, I don't want you to feel, you know, I don't want you to feel uncomfortable about it.
It is a very interesting theory. It's the first time I've heard that one, so thank you for sharing that. Have there been any other things that have happened around Murfreesboro since that time in the 80s?
Well, my dad, he actually moved. He moved from. He moved further up north.
Okay.
So, as far as him keeping track of what's going on, and of course, we all moved. We haven't been around that area, and we haven't kept track. We've done our own research as far as since the internet and stuff. With looking into different sightings and certain things and but as far as I know, I haven't nobody's mentioned anything.
Sure. It is amazing to be able to talk to you, being a person that was actually there during the salvage yard incident of the big muddy monster. And just thank you for coming up and for sharing your thoughts for a few minutes. I really appreciate it, Bob.
Yeah. Yep. They're not Nephilim, by the way. They're passive creatures. I don't know. Somebody put that they're Nephilim. They're not. They're the natural beast man.
Mm.
A lot of people had hypothesized that they're Nephilim, but Nephilim is the Nephilim creatures were they were destroyers of man. They would they're definitely not Nephilim. That's why I say they're Genesis 1 man. They're in harmony with nature. Genesis 2, we're not. We're not. A lot of people say we're not, we're not created for this climate, and all the natural creatures that are out there, they are in harmony with the earth. They are born with coats. I mean, they don't have to make their own clothes or build their own houses or anything like we do.
Well, Bob, thank you for coming up and for sharing that again.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Good stuff, guys. That I hope you realize how big a deal that was to have that guy up on stage. That's really cool to be able to talk to an individual that was involved with uh, a very big part of, Midwest Bigfoot history. That's pretty cool. Hey, Jay, how are you?
All right, how about you?
Doing good, doing good. Hey, before we get started, do you mind if I potentially use the audio from this conversation for my podcast?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So, do you have an encounter to share tonight, sir?
Well, I hunt a lot, in the swamps down here in Florida for hogs and deer. And I've heard some strange noises in the woods. I can't tell you what they are, but I've heard them. Like a roar sound. I don't know. It's real early in the morning when you hear it. I mean, 4:30, 5 o'clock,
And you said this is in Florida,
Yeah, northeast Florida.
Northeast. Okay, so over there by like Blackwater State Forest, that area.
About Caravel Ranch. It's connected to the Ocala National Forest.
Oh yeah. Okay. That area is a pretty well-known area for Bigfoot, Ocala. Yep. I'm
but
not surprised that you're having weird stuff go on right there, Jay.
but years, I say probably 20 years ago, over towards the beach, there's about a 10-mile stretch with nothing but woods on both sides, and I was going through there one afternoon on the way home from fishing, and we seen this thing come out onto 206 highway, and it took 3 steps to cross the highway and went down a fire trail. And I was like, "Wow, did y'all see that?" And the people that was with me said, "No, we didn't see it. What was it?" And so I stopped, and we could see this thing going down the fire trail, and there was 5 other vehicles that stopped behind me, and
Wow.
we all seen it going down the fire trail, and just looked at each other like, wow, what was that? But it wasn't no bear, because I've been around bears and bobcats and stuff like that, but this thing was probably 7, 8 feet tall and 3 steps to cross the highway. I mean, it was pretty crazy.
What year would you say that was, Jay?
I would say 97 probably.
Okay. And you said this was near the beach?
Yeah, it was probably 6 or 8 miles from the coast, from
And
St. Augustine Beach.
okay, St. Augustine Beach. All right. Gotcha. Looking that up. Okay, so this is east coast of Florida. Yep.
And it's
Wow.
206, County Road 206. The cross is under 95, and I'd say I was probably 3 miles west of 95 on that road. A lot of woods through there, both sides of the road.
Yeah, I'm seeing the so is that like Matanzas State Forest area, maybe?
Yeah, I've hunted there before, but it was a little bit north of there, maybe 2 miles north of there.
Gotcha.
There's a road 206. It's 206 and 207. It's on that road. The noises I hear every year, and that's in Caravelle Ranch, North Caravelle Ranch, which is just a little north of the Ocala National Forest, not even 2 miles maybe. But it's in a swamp. We call it 9 Mile Swamp, and I do a lot of hog hunting and deer hunting in there. I get a permit. It's a management area, and
Mm-hmm.
me and my sons heard it several times, early in the morning and late in the afternoon. But it makes a real. They call it the Florida Howl. If you look it up, it's called the Florida Howl. And I've
Okay.
looked it up and I've heard it, and it sounds just like that.
I will definitely check that out. I think I've found exactly what you're talking about. So very interesting. Being down there, have you heard any other stories of people experiencing or encountering Bigfoot down there?
I've heard a few different people talk about it, that they were walking home, and this thing was following them, and different scenarios like that. I heard of another guy said that he had heard one and caught the sounds on his phone and stuff, and so he turned it in, and then the police took his phone and wouldn't let him have his phone back.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep.
So
Wow.
I've tried to capture the sound, but I can't quite get it to my phone yet. But I'm trying.
Well, there you go. Hey, if you ever are successful, feel free to reach out. My email is bigfootsociety@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you.
Well, we'll do that.
All right. Well, thanks for coming up, Jay. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Good stuff from Jay down in Florida. We got Walter wanting to come up here. Hey, Walter, how are you?
I just wanted to say they for real. They they call them Sasquatch. They in Gainesville in the prairie where it's dark,
Gotcha.
the swamp. Like it's a lake back there called Trout Lake. You can look it up on the Google map. It's called the Lost Lake, and it's a lot of UFO sightings and everything be back there. It's called the Prairie in Gainesville, Florida. And when I say it's creepy, I'm talking about it ain't really creepy, but it's just like it seen me barbecue one day, and I was out on the patio. Someone told me to look into the bushes. So I went to look, and this is real. This happened for real. I look. I told my son. I say, son, come here. I say, you see that moving? The eyes are real, like a emerald green, and you can see the fur. It bounced like they got what's that commercial when the lady wash her hair, and then her hair go to like fluffy like, and
Okay.
it moves in a circular motion. Like it can't be still. Like a circular motion in a rotation. And he said, I see it, I see it. I say it won't move. If you look at it, it won't move. It'll stay still, because if it move, it'll know you spot it. You can follow it. So soon as you try to get something to record or anything, if it catch off guard and you come back, it's gone. But in this spot, this guy stayed up the street from us. He got like goats and a pet raccoon. He got stuff like that. I call him Old Man Bob. And he deaf, but he got cameras around his fort, around his house. And he came down up to my house. He said, hey, Walter, you hear all that noise? All that noise the other night. He said, I caught something on my camera. And I said, well, what you think it is, Mr. Ball? He said, I don't know, I really can't tell. But he said, all the deers. He said he woke up, he had a backyard full of deers just standing, because he had light. He had like a light. You know what I'm saying? Like almost like what they call them, spotlights. Like the spotlights, like when you with a motion light. Lights, like when you with a motion light. And he said, yeah, they said it's supposed to be old Bigfoot. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, dang. I said, I seen him the other day. I said, I wonder why he come up this way. He said, he be chasing them deers. They like to eat deers. Like in the wintertime. That's when that's when we had our counter in the wintertime. Summertime, they be just like straight, like berries, because you can't see the berries no more. How you was growing up, you could see the berries, wild berries just, in the woods laying around. So they be looking for them berries. So that's why, they got a diet too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Are there a lot of sightings of Bigfoot in that area?
Yeah, yeah. And Gainesville, they had a couple, they had an incident where a lot of monkeys got loose too. But this was after the fact. This was after the fact. But the Sasquatch, they be some everywhere. They can be in St. Augustine, like in 30 minutes. That's how fast they run and jump. And you know what I'm saying? Like, they real quick.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole thing about it is, a lot of people never go into the prairie. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like excluded. You know what I'm saying? Like, how if you like in Gainesville, you got one side you can hunt on, but you can't hunt on the prairie side of with the main highway at. You see what I'm saying? They like got a zone. So when we used to go back there, we used to use the bow and arrows. And my buddy named Watts, he would put me up on it too, because I was telling him about it. He said, yeah, bro, they out there for real, man. He said they out there for real. And I never, thought about it. He said, so when he go out in the prairie, because he go hunting back there, but he only go a certain amount of, kilometers, you know what I'm saying? So, because he caught a wild boar on my property, and then he caught him like 3 or 4 deers. But once you go to feeding the corn, going out there feeding, the deers trying to get the corn, that's when he commences, to come in, because he know the deer's gonna go to that corn pile. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And he be lurking, boy. Yeah, they be lurking, man. And then I was barbecuing too, so I had the grill smoking, the woods. It's the woods now. You in the woods, so when when you cook it in the wood, sometimes the smoke begins to um settle. You see what I'm saying? Where
Uh-huh.
it floats through throughout the wilderness, and different animals, they smell that, but when he smells like a certain aroma, they come around. They come around, bro. They real.
Wow.
Real.
That
I told my uncle I seen one, and he was like, "Take me to game. I want to see one." I'm like, "Man, shoot, what?" And we stayed right out the back door, come right out my back door, and that's all prairie. You know what I'm saying? So it's like from 75 all the way to university. You see what I'm saying? That's how far all that field goes, but it's mostly swamp. You got wild buffaloes out there, wild mustangs. You got stuff out there, but you can't get to it. You see what I'm saying?
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So only they know the certain ways to to go through the paths and to get on this side and whatever like that. But it's real dangerous, man. You can't go back there by yourself. It's real
Wow.
dangerous.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you coming up and sharing what you've experienced down there, and
You're
it's
welcome,
definitely
man.
something going to be on my radar now. So thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good, good. Do you mind if I potentially use this audio for my Bigfoot podcast I have?
No, that's fine.
Awesome. What would you like to share tonight?
So my experience happened it was around 2012 or 2011, and this was in Hocking County. And I was 12 or 13, and we had moved into this house, and pretty much no neighbors. I'd spend every day outside with my brother exploring the area. There's a lot of woods. Well, one day I had my curtains all the way up to let the sun charge up my little glow in dark things that I had in my room. And then when I went to go to sleep, I was laying there and I looked out the window and it was dark out. The whole family was in bed. My dad had went to Walmart. But I had looked out my window and I saw Bigfoot. And he looks pretty much like the picture you have here on your background.
Mm-hmm.
Except for his hair was kind of like choppy on the sides, I could tell. Like he was dirty and his hair had clumped a little bit all on the sides. But it had scared me to death. So I ran out of my room and literally crawled through the hallway into my living room. And there was a big screen patio that had been turned into my brother's room. But that was all glass, so I was so scared that it was going to see me in the house. I was just really terrified, so I crawled through the living room and hid behind the recliner. I had waited there for almost an hour until my dad had came home. And when he got there, he seen me behind the recliner and asked what was going on. He knew I was terrified. So he took it seriously and grabbed his revolver and went around the house. I heard him yelling out there, trying to scare it away. I don't know if he believed me or if trying to scare it away. I don't know if he believed me or if he thought maybe it was a man out there. But he took it seriously. But this is my first time ever telling this story, telling any details. But it was just a really terrifying experience. But I mean, if there was a man outside my window looking in my room, I'd be terrified too. But this, I know what I saw, and it was a Bigfoot for sure.
Thank you for sharing that. I can tell that was definitely something that affected you for a long time. This is Hocking County, Ohio.
Yeah, so there's Lake Hope State Park, and then there's Wayne National Forest, a little to the east of that, and then the town of Logan. And yeah, it scared me so bad that I no longer search the property like I used to explore with my brother. I would always just go to the porch and that was it. I was really just terrified. I saw his whole body except for his lower part, I would say. And I didn't see his knees or anything. There was no light shining on his face, of course, like in the picture, but it's pretty similar to what you've got there.
Okay, wow. So you could actually see its face there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But it wasn't like lit
Wow.
up like this picture here, so I couldn't tell you the exact details,
Right.
but it was pretty close to that picture there. And it was, my curtains were all the way up, or I'm sorry, my blinds. But he was standing almost to the top of the window. I'd say maybe like a foot or from the top was where his head was, and I could see his full shoulders, and his hair, like I said, was like clumped, a little bit clumped on the end, so it kind of looked choppy. I'm assuming maybe, he had gotten wet or something, and his hair was just like clumped from the dirt or whatever. But yeah, it was extremely scary. But yeah, I appreciate you having this platform and giving people the ability to share their stories, because this is something that is legit and not talked about much.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you were able to find it, so that you were able to come up.
I've never spoke to anybody about it. But I do plan on going back to that house. I have the address and everything. As an adult to go back, I just don't know how to approach those people who live in the home.
Yeah, I mean, that would be so tough because I mean, I guess you could always say like, "Hey, I used to live here. Do you mind if I look around?" Or I mean, you could ask like, "Have you had anything weird happen here?" But you just kind of have to feel it out as you go along, I think.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
If anything, does come out of that, I'd love to hear about it. If you can send me an email directly at bigfootsociety@gmail.com. I think that'd be very
Okay.
interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you.
But thank you for coming up. That was extremely intense. Extremely intense. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Bigfoot Society podcast. If you'd like to take part in these lives, you can follow the Bigfoot Society podcast on TikTok under bigfoot.society. We usually go live, if we're going to go live, about 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. So hope to see you there. It's a good time. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens. Some of the accounts cannot be put on here. So you might even hear stuff that you won't hear anywhere else. Make sure you're following the podcast so you don't miss out on any future episodes. And please take a minute to share this episode or an episode that's your favorite with a friend and give us a 5-star positive review and rating, as it really helps the show grow. If you haven't taken a look yet, head over to www.bigfootsocietypodcast.com. We have a brand new membership community. It's where you can get benefits such as a exclusive episode just for members every week, ad-free and early release episodes, ways for the community to hang out. We watch a movie together every month. We hang out in a Zoom call and talk about. So there's a lot of stuff I talk about that I don't put out on the show. It's kind of like a inner circle type thing. So if that's something you're interested in, check it out. Again, it's bigfootsocietypodcast.com and click on the members login. We'll see you there. Thanks for listening, and see you in the woods.